Security prevents Jason Statham's entry without knowing he's the hotel owner. The luxurious Royal Plaza Hotel stood tall in the heart of Los Angeles, its mirrored walls reflecting the California sunset. Behind that gleaming facade, stories, intertwined like invisible threads in a complex web. On that particular October afternoon, as hurried executives crossed the lobby with their Italian leather briefcases, a discreet figure walked through the revolving doors. Jason Statham, the renowned actor and former athlete, dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, carried only a worn-out backpack. His eyes scanned the surroundings with genuine curiosity, taking in every detail of the sumptuous decor that contrasted with his unpretentious appearance. After an exhausting day of filming, all he desired was a moment of peace, far from the constant spotlight that usually surrounded him. What no one there knew was that he was also the new owner of the hotel. At the reception, Thomas Reynolds, the head of security, narrowed his eyes upon spotting Jason. Tall and impeccably dressed, in his black suit, Reynolds was known for his unwavering commitment to the hotel's standards of excellence. Without hesitation, he intercepted the newcomer with an authoritative gesture. "Sir, may I help you?" "The service entrance is at the back," he declared with the affected smile, his voice laden with presumption. Jason raised his eyebrows slightly, maintaining the calm that defined him. "Actually, I have a reservation. Name Jason Statham." Reynolds scrutinized him from head to toe with obvious suspicion. "Mr. Statham, I'm afraid I'll need to verify some additional documents. You understand that we have strict security protocols." While Reynolds unnecessarily prolonged the check-in process, a young receptionist observed the scene with visible discomfort. Sofia Ramirez, of Mexican descent, was well acquainted with that kind of treatment. Having worked at the hotel for 2 years, she had witnessed countless similar situations. "Mr. Reynolds, may I assist Mr. Statham with the check-in?" offered Sofia, trying to ease the situation. "There's no need, Ms. Ramirez. I will personally conduct this special verification," replied Reynolds, emphasizing the last word. Jason noticed Sofia's gaze, a mixture of empathy and resignation. There was something more about this hotel beyond the blatant discrimination he was experiencing. He then decided that, instead of immediately revealing his position, he would take the opportunity to better understand the dynamics of that place. In the lavish corridors of the 12th floor, where he was finally allowed to proceed after a series of extraordinary security checks, Jason met Manuel, a cleaning staff member organizing the service carts. The middle-aged man startled upon seeing him, as if he were used to becoming invisible in the presence of guests. "Good afternoon," Jason greeted simply, surprising Manuel with his cordiality. Good afternoon, sir," the employee responded, still disconcerted by the unusual kindness. Upon entering his presidential suite, a bitter irony not lost after the treatment he had received, Jason began to formulate a plan. The following weeks would be crucial to truly understand the issues plaguing the hotel he had just acquired. It wasn't just about Reynolds and his discriminatory behavior. There was an entire culture in need of transformation. On the other side of the corridor, Sofia was finishing her shift with conflicted thoughts. The new guest in room 1204 was different. There was kindness in his eyes, a simplicity that contrasted with the usual arrogance of the Royal Plaza's clientele. As she stowed her belongings in the small staff closet, she found an old photo of her family in Mexico. Her mother's dream had always been to see her manage a great hotel, but the barriers in that environment seemed insurmountable. The sun had long set when Jason approached the window of his suite. Down below, the lights of Los Angeles began to dot the urban landscape. In his hand, a laptop displayed the financial and administrative reports of the Royal Plaza for the past 5 years. The numbers were impressive, but there was something that the spreadsheets did not reveal: the human cost behind that apparent success. In the days that followed, Jason developed an unusual routine. Every morning he would come down for coffee, dressed in simple clothes, provoking disapproving looks from Reynolds and his subordinates. For someone used to Hollywood's red carpets, that experience was particularly revealing. During one such morning, While savoring his coffee in the guest's lounge, Jason noticed Sophia struggling to balance an especially heavy tray. Without hesitation, he stood up to help her, ignoring the scandalized whispers of the other guests. "Thank you, Mr. Statham," Sophia murmured, her cheeks tinged with red. "But I shouldn't. Mr. Reynolds doesn't like it when staff interact too much with the guests." "Why don't you tell me more about it?" Jason invited, indicating a discreet table in the corner of the room. His experience as an actor had taught him the importance of truly listening to people. Initially reluctant, Sophia eventually opened up. She recounted how Reynolds had implemented an unofficial system of categorizing guests, determining the level of service based on appearance and presumed social status. Employees who displayed too much familiarity with inappropriate clients were quickly reprimanded or reassigned to less desirable shifts. Last week, Carmen from the laundry was transferred to the midnight shift because she dared to suggest a local restaurant to a guest, Sophia confided in a low voice, reflecting the constant fear of being overheard. Meanwhile, in the hotel's basement, a tense meeting unfolded in the staff room. Reynolds had convened an extraordinary assembly to reinforce the standards of excellence. Manuel, the cleaning staff member, watched with apprehension as the head of security strolled among the rows of chairs, his impeccable suit contrasting with the team's simple uniforms. "We cannot allow the standards of this establishment to be compromised," Reynolds declared, casting a meaningful glance towards Sophia, who had just entered the room. "Some recent guests have exhibited inappropriate behavior by fraternizing with the service team." Jason, who had discreetly followed Sophia to the meeting, remained hidden in the corridor, listening to every word. Years of preparing for different roles had taught him to observe, to understand the nuances of human relationships. His heart tightened as he saw the fear in the employees' eyes, dedicated people being treated as disposable cogs in a money-making machine. That same afternoon, an unexpected situation catalyzed important changes. Elena Torres, a famous Latina artist, arrived at the hotel dressed in casual clothes after a long flight. Reynolds, following his usual discriminatory protocol, began questioning her reservation for the penthouse. Sophia, immediately recognizing the artist, tried to intervene but was abruptly pushed aside by Reynolds. That was when Jason, who was observing the scene, decided to take a small step in his silent investigation. Approaching the group, he greeted Elena like a fellow artist. "Elena, what a pleasant surprise. How was your tour in Europe?" Elena, instantly recognizing Jason, Statham smiled with genuine delight. "Jason, I didn't expect to see you here. The tour was wonderful. Thank you for asking." Reynolds visibly paled upon recognizing the famous actor and began stammering excuses. The incident, although seemingly minor, began to create cracks in his unassailable facade of authority. That evening after the incident, Sophia found a letter in her locker. It was an invitation to a private meeting the following day, signed simply JS. Along with the invitation, there was a folder containing various accounts from employees about incidents of moral harassment and discrimination at the hotel, carefully compiled over the past few weeks. At the apartment she shared with her younger sister in the Los Angeles suburbs, Sophia spent hours analyzing the documents. Every story echoed experiences that she herself had either endured or witnessed. In her heart, a small spark of hope began to ignite. Perhaps finally change was possible. The meeting convened by Jason took place in a small cafe across the street from the hotel. Sophia arrived promptly at 9 in the morning, surprised to find not only Jason Statham, but also 5 other hotel employees, including Manuel and Carmen, the laundry worker who had been transferred to the night shift. "Thank you all for coming," Jason began, his calm voice contrasting with the evident tension on everyone's faces. "I know taking risks is not easy, especially when your jobs are on the line." Carmen, a 60-year-old lady with tired but determined eyes, was the first to speak. "Mr. Statham, with all due respect, why would a famous actor like you care about our situation?" Jason smiled, reclining in his chair. "Because I haven't always been who I am today. Before fame, I worked in various places facing prejudice and closed doors, but today, I have a unique opportunity to make a difference." Over the next 2 hours, each employee shared their experiences. Manuel recounted how he was constantly instructed to become invisible whenever important guests passed by, and Sophia described the elaborate system of codes Reynolds had implemented to classify guests based on their appearance and presumed social status. "The worst part isn't the treatment we receive," Sophia explained, nervously fidgeting with her coffee cup. "It's seeing how they treat good people, like you, Mr. Statham, simply because you don't fit the standard they expect." Jason listened intently occasionally, making notes on his cell phone. His experience in the entertainment world had taught him that significant changes rarely happen overnight. It takes strategy, patience, and above all, the courage to challenge the status quo. "I have a plan," he finally announced, "but I need your help. In the coming weeks, we will document every incident, every discriminatory policy, every abuse of power, not to seek revenge, but to build a solid case for structural changes." While the group discussed the details of the plan across the street at the hotel, Reynolds was conducting yet another one of his surprise inspections. His behavior had become even more controlling since the incident with Elena Torres. The presence of Jason Statham in the hotel made him uncomfortable, primarily because the actor seemed immune to his attempts at intimidation. Early the next week, small changes began to occur. Encouraged by the meeting, Sophia discreetly started defending guests who suffered discrimination. Manuel began greeting clients in the corridors, his genuine smile breaking invisible barriers. Even during her night shift, Carmen found ways to make guest stays more welcoming, leaving small welcome notes in different languages. For his part, Jason continued his silent investigation. His mornings were devoted to conversations with employees from various departments, while his afternoons were filled with discreet phone calls to his legal team and hotel management consultants. In the evenings, in his suite, he organized the information he had collected, preparing for the right moment to act. One particular incident caught his attention during this period. Her young chef, recently hired for the hotel kitchen, was being systematically sabotaged by Reynolds. Her crime suggesting the inclusion of Latin cuisine dishes on the main restaurant's menu. "The Royal Plaza has a reputation to uphold," Reynolds had declared in a team meeting. "We can't afford to indulge in ethnic experimentalism." Chef Maria Gonzalez had worked in some of San Francisco's best restaurants and had impeccable references, but for Reynolds, her surname was enough to question her every step. Jason decided to intervene subtly. During a dinner at the hotel restaurant, he made a point of publicly praising one of Maria's special dishes, drawing the attention of other guests to the exceptional quality of the cuisine. The moment was strategically recorded on several cell phones, and soon social media was abuzz with comments about actor Jason Statham and his gastronomic discovery at the Royal Plaza. Reynolds watched all these events with growing concern. His once unassailable authority was beginning to show cracks. The employees, though still cautious, no longer exhibited the paralyzing fear they once had. Something was changing at the Royal Plaza, and he no longer had control over it. News spread like wildfire throughout the Royal Plaza. A surprise inspection by the corporate headquarters was scheduled for the following week. Reynolds strolled through the corridors with a triumphant smile, convinced that he could finally justify his actions to the board. What he did not know was that this inspection was part of Jason's larger plan. Sophia found the notice in her email early in the morning. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the detailed instructions regarding the procedures to be followed during the inspector's visit. Reynolds had attached an extensive list of behavioral guidelines, which, in practice, were nothing more than a means of control and discrimination. "Impeccable appearance is mandatory," one item stated. "Employees with a heavy accent should limit their interaction with the inspectors to the bare minimum." When Jason received a copy of the email through Sophia, he felt that the moment to act was drawing near. Over the past few weeks, he had witnessed not only injustices, but also the extraordinary resilience of the hotel's staff. It was time to catalyze the transformation that everyone longed for. On the eve of the inspection, an unexpected situation accelerated events. Maria, The chef had prepared a special menu for an important event at the hotel. In his latest attempt to sabotage her work, Reynolds altered several orders without authorization, causing confusion in the kitchen. "This is unacceptable," Maria protested, confronting Reynolds for the first time. "You are deliberately undermining the hotel's service." "Watch your tone, miss," replied Reynolds, his voice laden with veiled threats. "There are dozens of chefs waiting for an opportunity at the Royal Plaza, chefs more suited to our standard." Jason, dining in the restaurant, witnessed the scene. His initial instinct was to intervene immediately, but years of experience in the artistic world had taught him the value of perfect timing. Instead, he made a discreet signal to Sophia, who began filming the interaction on her cell phone. That night, an emergency meeting was called at Sophia's house. Jason, Maria, Manuel, and other employees gathered to finalize the preparations for the next day. The folder of evidence, now substantially thicker, included testimonies, incident records, and even audio recordings documenting Reynolds' abusive behavior. "Tomorrow will be a different day," Jason promised, his voice conveying a confidence that inspired everyone in the room. "But I need you all to trust me and remain calm no matter what happens." Back at the hotel, Reynolds made his final preparations for the inspection. In his office, he reviewed a list of problematic employees whom he intended to reassign or dismiss after the inspector's visit. Sophia's name headed the list, followed by Maria and Manuel. The morning of the inspection arrived with a different energy in the air. The corridors of the Royal Plaza hummed with a mixture of apprehension and hope. Reynolds, immaculate in his new suit, waited at the hotel entrance, eager to impress the inspectors with his standard of excellence. At the reception desk, Sophia exchanged a knowing glance with Jason, who was heading toward the elevators. In a few hours, the balance of power at the Royal Plaza would be transformed. Chef Maria was preparing what promised to be one of the most memorable breakfasts in the hotel's history. Manuel, polishing the already gleaming brass handrails, hummed softly an old song from his homeland. The clock struck exactly 9 as the hotel doors opened to welcome the inspectors. Reynolds stepped forward, his rehearsed smile freezing when he recognized a familiar figure among the newcomers. But before he could fully process the situation, Jason Statham had already taken the lead, cordially greeting each member of the inspection team. The Royal Plaza's lobby fell into an absolute hush as Jason Statham, now wearing an elegant suit, positioned himself before the inspectors. Reynolds, still stunned by the actor's presence among them, tried to maintain his customary composure. "Ladies and gentlemen," began Jason, his firm voice echoing through the space, "as the owner of the Royal Plaza, I would like to personally conduct this inspection." The impact was immediate. Reynolds staggered slightly, leaning against a nearby column. Sophia covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes wide with surprise. Throughout the lobby, employees and guests alike watched the scene with a mixture of astonishment and curiosity. "In the past few weeks," Jason continued, "I experienced this hotel not as its owner, but as an ordinary guest. What I discovered was both disturbing and inspiring." With a gesture, he invited Sophia to join him. The young receptionist, still trembling from the revelation, walked to his side, carrying the folder of evidence they had compiled together. "This establishment," Jason went on, "has an extraordinary team. People like Sophia, Manuel, Maria, and Carmen, who every day demonstrate admirable dedication and professionalism, despite facing a toxic and discriminatory work environment." Reynolds stepped forward, attempting to interject. "Mr. Statham, if you would allow me to explain." "There is no acceptable explanation for prejudice and moral harassment, Mr. Reynolds," Jason interrupted, his voice now imbued with a serene authority. "True excellence is not based on appearance or social status, but on the character and dignity with which we treat one another." Turning to the inspection team, composed in fact of hotel management experts and human resources consultants, Jason began to detail his observations from the past few weeks. Every documented incident, every discriminatory policy, every abuse of power was exposed with precision and clarity. Chef Maria was called upon to share her experience. With dignity, she described the sabotage attempts and the prejudice she had faced. Her testimony was followed by Manuel, who spoke of years forced into invisibility, and by Carmen, who recounted her unjust transfer to the night shift. From today onward, Jason announced, the Royal Plaza enters a new era, an era of respect, inclusion, and genuine hospitality. The changes began immediately. Reynolds was removed from his duties, and a new diversity and inclusion training program was implemented for the entire staff. Sophia was promoted to guest relations manager, her sensitivity and experience finally recognized and valued. Maria was given full rein to revamp the restaurant menu, incorporating elements from various culinary traditions. Her fusion menu would soon become one of the hotel's main attractions. Manuel was appointed as the General Services Supervisor, his experience and dedication fundamental to improving working conditions for his team. In the ensuing weeks, the Royal Plaza underwent a profound transformation. The once silent corridors now echoed with lively conversations between employees and guests. Manuel's genuine smile spread warmth to everyone he passed. Maria's kitchen became a multicultural meeting point where diverse aromas and flavors blended in harmony. Jason maintained his suite at the hotel, making sure to be regularly present to monitor the changes. On one particularly busy afternoon, he found Sophia organizing an integration event for the team. "You know," she said with a smile, "my mother always dreamed of seeing me manage a great hotel, but I never imagined it would be a place where I could truly be myself." "True luxury," replied Jason, "is not found in marble and crystal, but in the dignity with which we treat every human being." The Royal Plaza became a model of humane management in the hospitality industry. Its story of transformation was documented in specialized magazines and inspired changes in other establishments. More importantly, it became a place where people from all backgrounds and social classes could feel truly welcome. During his final visit before leaving for the filming of his next project, Jason observed with satisfaction the lively movement in the hotel lobby. Guests of different nationalities chatted animatedly with the staff. The aroma of Maria's cooking perfumed the air. Sophia, confident in her new role, led a meeting with her team in the lounge. Success, Jason reflected, is not measured solely by numbers, but by the positive impact we have on people's lives. And so the Royal Plaza continued its journey, not just as another luxurious hotel, but as a living example that true transformation begins with respect, empathy, and the courage to confront deeply rooted prejudices. Its story became a powerful reminder that every person, regardless of their origin or appearance, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.